Hi, this is part one in the unit on stocks. In this unit, we will be doing stocks, and then you'll have a little quiz, and then you'll do soups, and then you'll do sauces. So, the first thing we're going to cover here is some new vocabulary and review some old vocabulary. And we're going to talk about the parts of a stock and what stock is. The next lesson, we'll talk about actually preparing stock and then how to cool it so that you don't make people sick. So when we talk about stock, we are talking about a flavored liquid. This liquid is the basis of pretty much all soups, and this also will make the base of a lot of sauce. Or you can deglaze it and you can use this for braising liquid. When it comes to stock making, the French have a term for this called fond, and that essentially means base because it's the base of so many things. When it comes to making stock, it's one of those things that you can use lots of ingredients out of the kitchen. You can reuse things, you can use scrap things. Stock and soup making is used all over the world. It is nutritious, it's flavorful, and it's just a really good way to really boost your cooking. So if you do go on to work in a kitchen, it is one of the most important foundational culinary things that you're going to learn, and you'll utilize it a lot. So it's really easy, but it is important to know the basics of it. So a good stock should be flavorful but not overpowering. If you have done something wrong, then you can end up with some flavors that are bad or off. Mouthfeel is a term that is used when talking about stock, and essentially mouthfeel means that it's not watery. So when something is silky in your mouth, it's kind of like I don't want to say melted milkshake, but like a melted milkshake is thicker and a little viscous. It feels different in your mouth than just straight milk does. And so a good stock should have a little bit more of a silky texture and not just be watery or brothy. And it should also have no floaty bits or be cloudy. There's a couple things that you can do wrong in stock making that will make it cloudy, which is not good. So when we talk about stock and how to make it, it is traditionally made with bones, and you can do this with any type of bones. Pork bones, the fat in pork is a little different, and it's a little weird. You can make it out of pork bones, and that is kind of common in some Asian cooking, but more commonly, beef, veal, chicken, and fish. Those are the most common. Chicken's really cheap, and so that's really common. Lamb and turkey, game like duck or ham, these are a lot less common just because of the flavor that's involved in them. Duck stock is one of my favorite things, but it definitely has a very different flavor than chicken stock does. Of a new vocabulary term that you've heard me kind of toss out a little bit is mirepoix. So mirepoix is a combination of onions, carrots, and celery, with a higher weight going to the onions. This is the base of a lot of flavors, and it is used a lot, particularly in French cooking. And then you want to find things to season it. So traditionally, peppercorns, bay leaves, thyme, parsley, could be some garlic. A lot of people don't add salt to the stock because they put salt in the food. If you buy store-bought stock, then it is going to be salted for preservation. And so you got to kind of watch your salt content a little bit with that. So the most important thing are the bones. These are flavor, richness, and color. The bones also is what adds the mouthfeel to the stock. Younger animals have a little bit more cartilage and connective tissue. These melt out into gelatin. And so that is how we get the mouthfeel, by the components inside of the bones kind of melting and dissolving into the liquid. Neck, back, and shank bones make good stock. Chicken wings make good stock, although they are kind of a little bit expensive. If you were running a restaurant and you were serving chicken wings and you got the whole wing, you could use like just the flats or just the drummies. So even that little tip part off the wings makes a good stock. A lot of times I save the carcass when I have a chicken, or if I get like bone-in chicken breast, I just cut the meat part off and then go ahead and save what I am not using and stick it in the freezer so that I can make stock. So here's a photo representation of the mirepoix. As you can see, a little bit more on the onions. You can do a white mirepoix and leave the carrots out if you don't want the orange color in there, but traditionally you definitely kind of want to put all three as possible. So when it comes to type of stocks, there are a couple of different options. White stock and brown stock are going to be some of your most common. So a white stock can be made with chicken, it can be made with beef. A brown stock can also be made with chicken or beef. The difference between a white stock and a brown stock is that a white stock has been cooked using raw bones and then some vegetables that maybe were simmered or sweated. A brown stock has been caramelized. The bones, the mirepoix, these things have been browned and caramelized, and then they're simmered in water. So we've covered the cooking methods. We've talked about cooking science. You guys have learned a little bit about browning and caramelization of the Maillard reaction and exactly what happens during that process, how that's achieved, and why that would create such a difference. So the white stock is going to be more neutral in flavor, and so depending on what you're making with it, the brown stock is going to be more robust. It's going to have a lot more flavor. You can also do fish stock or fumet, and this is really commonly made with all kinds of like things that have shells in it, and it's made just the same as the chicken stock. You just use fish instead, and you can kind of use whole fish or parts of fish. Court bouillon is vegetables and seasonings, and these are simmered in water with an acidic. So you would have vinegar or wine present, and it's not as common. White or brown stock is going to be the most common that you're going to deal with. So vegetable stock, that's going to be made without meat or bones and vegetables only. It is going to be thinner because it's not going to have the gelatin. Gelatin is an animal product. So if you are living an animal-free life, then you need to make sure that you are not consuming gelatin or that you are only using a vegan gelatin there, because you can get gelatin out of vegetables, but it's more commonly comes from animals because it's cheaper that way. Broth is an option. Broth is less flavorful and it has less mouthfeel. Usually you have some meat and vegetables for a shorter period of time, so you don't have that gelatin present, and so you're not going to have as much flavor and as much body in that. A base is a concentrated flavor agent, and so you mix this with water and this makes the flavorful liquid. We've already used this in my classroom. You guys have seen the little jar of either chicken or beef base. It's a lot cheaper, it's quicker and easier, so depending on what you're doing around with it, you can use that. So this can also be in powder form or bouillon or paste. If you are eating the ramen noodles, then you are already familiar with the little packet that comes inside of the ramen noodles. That is just bouillon and some flavoring. So you can get it in cubes, you can get it loose, you can get it in the chicken base that is more of a paste kind of product. I try to use as much as I can in the classroom, the Better Than Bouillon brand. This is made more out of real food items. It does need to be refrigerated. It doesn't have MSG. It has less salt. It will last for a year in the refrigerator, and a little spoonful of that in all kinds of stuff. So if you're making like spaghetti, if you're making rice, then a little spoonful of that will really flavor it up quite a bit. And then the next lesson will be on how to actually prepare stock.